everybody, and welcome to Beyond Politics. Today we'll be discussing surveillance. Yesterday we spoke about digital public infrastructure, and a lot of the topics we'll discuss is intertwined with digital public infrastructure. It's a priority for nations across the globe and certainly for South Africa. And we'll be focusing specifically on an article about surveillance.
And if you haven't watched our video yesterday about the 50 in 5 plan by the United Nations, where 50 countries in 5 years, which actually ends by 2028, needs to implement one of these elements of the digital plan. If you haven't watched it, please go and watch that video so that you can understand where this comes from. And you will see that the city of Cape Town is implementing most of these things already. We've said that South Africa is not one of the countries, one of the 50, but South Africans are driving this. So we are actually behind it. The city of Cape Town especially is implementing all of these digital things in society. Many of our ministers are doing exactly the same thing with digital IDs, etc. But in this article, and this is from the Daily Maverick, it says Big Brother's Beach Watch. Drones and CCTV spark privacy concerns in Cape Town. And we'll go into a bit more detail, not the article specifically, but what is happening and what this could lead to in future.
Yeah, so while we discuss and explore this topic, I'd like to ask you, how much do you value safety? Do you value safety so much that you're willing to give up personal privacy, your right to privacy? That's what I would like to know from the majority of people out there, because what's happening is quite terrifying. Remember, digital public infrastructure involves digital identity, digital payment systems, and then digital data exchange. It's within that digital data exchange realm where surveillance fits in. So let's get a little bit into the article. I want to quote a couple of things from the article just so to portray the severity of where we're at right now.
Maybe we should just explain basically what happened. During the last two festive seasons, the city of Cape Town has had infrastructure put in place where they have long distance surveillance cameras that they can move around, they can zoom in really closely, and we'll look at statements from JP Smith, who is the mayoral committee member for safety and security.
And don't forget the drones.
The drones, yes, of course. They actually are drones patrolling the beaches. So people have now realized that this could be a problem, and alarm has been raised.
My favorite, what is their biggest concern about crime on the beach? Consuming alcohol.
Alcohol, that is their biggest concern, yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, it's about you're on the beach and you probably have no idea that there are cameras around and there are drones that can see you from kilometers away. But that's what's happening. If you go to a beach in Cape Town, you can be very rest assured that you are being surveilled. And most people say, but yeah, if I'm not a criminal, it's not a problem. I say it is a problem because of the capabilities the government has in their hands.
Especially with the 50 in 1 plan and with the digitization of the world, once its backbone and infrastructure is in place, you in future could become the criminal. And many people in the comments, if you read the comments to this article, it's actually quite shocking. Mm-hmm. Many people saying, yes, this is for criminals, we should absolutely have this kind of surveillance, until you are the criminal for things that you can't even comprehend right now. Mm-hmm. That international organizations drive, and that people like the city of Cape Town, who is run by one of the GNU parties, would just implement without thinking twice.
So they'll say that they won't use their technology and their drones to surveil you in your own private property, but that can change at a later date. Laws and bylaws and all kinds of things can be passed later to change that.
Well, that's not true. It's already happened.
The problem is that the power still rests with government, and we have allowed that to happen. But let's just cover a couple of very scary statements in the article that should make you shiver in your boots. The mayoral committee member for safety and security, JB Smith, said the city had deployed drones and CCTV to identify offenders at the beach, mainly for consuming alcohol. From kilometers away, he's
been quoted now.
From kilometers away, invisible to the human eye, we zoom in and identify offenders who think they are one step ahead of the law. Just that sentence. I shouldn't even have to read another word from this article. Just that sentence is
the
terrifying.
Mindset. His mindset is terrifying.
Invisible to the human eye.
And he's not afraid to say it. And there's obviously constitutional questions around this, and this is where the constitution can be tested. Will it pass that test?
Yeah.
I wonder.
I don't know. So there is one lady, Heidi Swart, who is a surveillance researcher who's speaking out against this publicly. She says that the use of high-definition omnipresent cameras allowed officials to monitor individuals daily over a long period and learn their behavioral patterns.
This is important,
should
the
that be
behavioral
allowed?
pattern part.
Yeah.
And AI can use this to build grudges against people, literally. Government could have a list to say people behave like this and like that. Put that aside, let police investigate them for whatever reason. So just understand that you that think that you are a law-abiding citizen could soon be the criminal. I'm going to repeat that over and over. Because during the COVID-19 pandemic, people that thought they were law-abiding got thrown into the back of police vans for walking a dog at the beach.
There's all sorts of legislation for who can fly drones, where they can fly, and at what time, but that has nothing to do with privacy. That is something separate, says Heidi. So here's another guy, Brandon Yobert. He says he's a video surveillance expert and a director of some company, technology company. He said if a drone zooms in and focuses on the details of a person that a normal onlooker could not observe, this could be deemed as a search and an invasion of the person's reasonable expectation of privacy. So what he's trying to say is that if a drone can just see you the way a normal person would see you in public, then it's not an invasion of privacy. But I say that is absolutely wrong.
But let's talk about the part in the South African Constitution where it guarantees the right to not be searched without consent or legal justification. Now, this is where the question comes in. Is there legal justification for this drone to zoom in to sensitive parts of your body, for instance? Because this is the kind of capability these cameras have. They can literally see what you have in your hand. So, I mean, close-up zooms.
Well, the article goes on to explain, I think it was J.P. Smith that said they can see from a far distance exactly how people hide the alcohol on the beach and bury it in the sand. And that's the problem. You're being monitored in a way that you don't expect. I think it could be considered non-consensual.
It's an invasion of privacy to begin with. The average citizen does not expect high-resolution, magnified examination of any part of their person or possessions without consent or justifications which would meet the threshold required to enforce a physical search of a person, he said. So this is Mr. Hubert having concerns, and rightfully so. I'm glad that people are speaking out about this. And you can tell us in the comments below this video how you feel about this kind of surveillance and whether you've actually helped fund it in your neighborhood and many other places.
Yeah, we should explore other ways to keep safe. And I think this is the problem with every facet of our lives. We've given our power over to government to solve problems for us. It's like we want a nanny state. It's really ridiculous.
And people are asking for a nanny state in the comments. Some of the comments were really shocking where people are saying, I'll rather have a nanny state than have criminals running around. Now, I don't think a person having alcohol on the beach is a criminal. It's a bylaw, people. There's a big difference between regulations, bylaws, and actual laws that have been passed by Parliament. A very big difference.
The way I see it is that there's a law and then you have the freedom to obey it or not obey it. This is taking it to the point in 1984, the dystopian novel, where it's almost being like thought police. Before you even take that bottle out of your bag, the drone spots you and the police are on you. So it's crossing a line that should not be crossed. This is where it gets worse. This is where it gets worse on the city's part. When asked whether there were notices on beaches informing people about surveillance measures, because I haven't seen any notices. No. So you can assume if you're going to a public or city-owned piece of land,
especially in the city of Cape Town,
you are being surveilled, especially in the city of Cape Town, probably in most metros. J.P. Smith says here, there is no legal obligation to notify the public regarding the operation of CCTV cameras in public spaces.
Well, maybe there should be one then.
He's not even mentioning the drones here. Maybe there should be. What do you think? Please put it in the comments. Do you want to be notified that drones and cameras are watching you in
government is
public
watching
spaces? I know there are cameras in every shopping center, in every public building, but in
this is public spaces.
Where you go for free, Would you like to be notified? Let us know in the comments. He said drones were only used to monitor public open spaces in the city land and did not encroach on private residences. The footage is securely stored and is only made available to authorized officers and managers for official purposes, and is only used for the purpose it was captured for. And you have to trust that.
You have to trust that. Do you believe JP Smith with what he says? Do you believe and trust that he has your best interest at heart? He will certainly say yes. I completely disagree with him. And, if I had to be in government, and I'll be the furthest thing from becoming a public servant, if I had to be in government, I would prosecute someone like him for the actions that he's taken as an official within the city. I would prosecute him. Even if you have to change the laws, people like that should not be let loose on society.
One last comment and then we can close this. He said drones had been extremely effective for law enforcement as officers could be directed to offenders and guided to where alcohol had been hidden. This technology was being used in conjunction with and support of traditional policing methods.
This is a bylaw he's enforcing, people. This is not a national law. To the national government, whether you consume alcohol on the beach or not, is not as high a priority as so many other things. If it is a priority to you, I understand that you might want bylaws like that in the area. To use the police to enforce bylaws should not be the priority. It should be the priority to make sure that gangs, whose gang leader addresses they know, they have an entire list of all the gang leaders.
They don't need a drone for that.
They don't need a drone. They know exactly where they live, are running amok in Cape Town. How huge international syndicates are peddling drugs all over the metro. But they're not concerned about this. They are concerned and highlighting your use of alcohol.
Government would not exist without crime. Just let that sink in. Government would not exist without crime.
They would not have power.
All.
And you are giving them the power by how you vote, by how you make comments around things like this. And maybe once people lose all their freedom and they become the criminal, will they stand up and do something?